possible to have the power of creating anything you want? Or to make things appear out of nowhere? Do you want to know how can it be done? In my previous stories, I started to teach you how it can be done, and now I will continue. Let's get started. Previously, I explained that for any item to exist, everyone has to see it. In simple words, if I see an item and you see it too, then this item exists. I also explained that for everyone to see an item, our mind needs to connect with everyone's minds and send them the information concerning this item. I'll give you an example. Let's say I hacked the bank's main computer and broke into my bank account. I forged my account and made my account to show $1 million on it. I didn't really put any money on my account. I only made it show the amount. If I go to the bankomat and try to withdraw the money, what will happen? The bankomat will connect with the bank's main computer and see that I have $1 million on my account. So it will give me the money. So what happened is that I didn't put the money in the bank. I only made the bankomat see that I have the money in the bank. So I made $1 million appear out of nowhere only by sending the corresponding information to the bankomat. I also showed you that the mind can receive the information directly, avoiding all 5 senses. For example, when the mind thinks about the object, it sees this object directly without looking at it with the eyes. I also showed you that 2 or more minds can connect. I used the example of a pregnant woman and her baby. How the mother feels her baby's feelings. I told you how the minds can be connected by the consciousness. I also explained how the mind communicates with its own consciousness by the emotions. For more details, you can watch my previous stories. Now I will explain how the consciousness connects with the other consciousnesses and how they communicate. Let's get started. When the mind communicates with its own consciousness, it uses the emotions. This means that the consciousness understands the language of the emotions. It's not surprising since the consciousness feels. So for the consciousness to communicate with another consciousness, it can use the emotions. But here is a major issue. In order to communicate with another consciousness, first it has to connect with it. Let me explain. If you want to access some website on the internet, first you have to connect with the internet. How does the consciousness connect with another consciousness? Unfortunately, we can't ask it to the unborn child, so we have to figure it out by ourselves. For this, we have to learn more about the consciousness. We need to learn how it functions. This is the subject that the scientists are trying to study for many years, but without any significant results. So all we have left is to turn to the Bible. As I mentioned in my previous stories, the Bible is the user's manual, giving us the blueprint of the mind and consciousness. The characters symbolizing the consciousness in the Bible are God and Jesus Christ. Barabbas also symbolizes the consciousness, but the corrupted one. This is the only information we have about Barabbas. Now let's figure out what is the consciousness and what is the function of the mind. The Bible tells us that after God created the universe, there was no one to work the ground. The 7 days of creation symbolizes the creation of a human body in the mother's womb. This part of the Bible symbolizes that the body is created, but it is not controlled by any intelligence. The Bible also tells us that Jesus tells Pilate that his kingdom is not of this world. This symbolizes that the consciousness is not controlling the physical body directly, meaning that the consciousness needs some other tool to control the body. Then God creates Adam out of the dust of the ground and blows through his nostrils the breath of life. This symbolizes that the consciousness creates the mind out of the brain and gives it the ability to function. So the consciousness creates the mind as the tool to control the body. The mind at this point does not have the knowledge of good and evil, so it can't function independently. The mind does not make any decisions, it refers to the consciousness for any decisions and proceeds accordingly. After Adam eats from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, he realizes that he is naked and he feels shy, so he hides and he tries to cover himself with the leaves. This symbolizes that after the mind gains the knowledge of good and evil, it realizes that the decisions are made by the consciousness and it wants to isolate itself from the consciousness and make the decisions independently. The Bible tells us that God gives Adam and Eve the leather garments and sends them out of the Garden of Eden. This symbolizes that the consciousness allows the mind to isolate itself and make its own decisions. But now the mind has to make the decisions himself to satisfy its needs and wishes. So it has to work. The Garden of Eden symbolizes the state of mind when all the wishes and desires are satisfied without the mind making any decisions or taking any actions. The Bible gives us another important clue. Adam was created in the image of God. This symbolizes that the mind resembles the consciousness. It functions in a similar way. So by studying the mind, we can study the consciousness. But the important thing is that it is Adam that resembles God. As I explained in my previous stories, Adam and Eve are two parts of the mind. Eve symbolizes the part of the mind that creates the wishes. It doesn't make the decisions or act in any way. Adam symbolizes the part of the mind that satisfies the wishes. It makes the decisions and acts correspondingly. So this is the part of the mind that resembles the consciousness and it controls the body. Let me give you the example. Let's say you want to raise your hand. The part of the mind that creates the wishes sends to the part of the mind that satisfies the wishes the information saying that it wishes to raise the hand. The part of the mind that satisfies the wishes processes this information and makes the decision to raise the hand. Then it creates the plan of actions how to raise the hand and transfers this information into the electric signals and sends them to the muscles of the hand. The hand raises. This is important to know in order to understand how the mind can connect to another mind's. First of all, we have to understand that the wish is not enough to complete the action. The part of the mind that satisfies the wishes must make the decision to satisfy this wish or not and act correspondingly. Let me give you the example. If you are sick with a flu and you want to drink a glass of ice-cold cola, the part of the mind that creates the wishes sends the information concerning this wish to the part of the mind that satisfies the wishes. The part of the mind that satisfies the wishes will use the knowledge of good and evil and will project the outcome, and it will make a decision. It will consider the fact that cold cola can have a negative effect on the health and will make the decision to not agree to satisfy this wish. So you will not drink the cold cola. As you can see, just having a wish is not enough to accomplish the goal. The part of the mind that satisfies the wishes must agree to satisfy this wish and take the corresponding actions. So in order to connect with the other minds, first the part of the mind that satisfies the wishes must agree with this wish and send the corresponding information to the consciousness using the emotions. Then the consciousness must process this information and take the corresponding actions. So let me describe this entire process. At first, the part of the mind that creates the wishes makes the wish to connect with the other minds. Then it sends the information concerning this wish to the part of the mind that satisfies the wishes. Then the part of the mind that satisfies the wishes processes this information and projects the outcome by using the knowledge of good and evil. According to the outcome, it decides to satisfy this wish or not. If it decides to satisfy this wish, it translates this information into the fillings. Then, by using the special calculator, it transfers these fillings into the emotions and sends it to the consciousness. The consciousness processes these emotions and creates the answering emotion. If the answering emotion is positive, then it will proceed with the actions. The Bible gives us an important clue how the consciousness makes the decisions. In 7 days of creation, each time God creates something, he sees that it is good, and only after God continues creating. This symbolizes that the consciousness uses the knowledge of good and evil, and only if the outcome is good it will take the actions. But here is a difference between how the mind makes the decision and how the consciousness makes the decision. The mind makes the decision according to the information. It processes the information and projects the outcome using the knowledge of good and evil. The information processed by the mind is made of the words and numbers, not by the fillings. The information is turned into the fillings after the decision is made. The words are used for defining the object, and the numbers are used for measurement. The Bible tells that God brought all the animals to Adam for him to name them. This symbolizes that the mind identifies all the objects and actions by the words. The consciousness makes the decision by processing the emotions. It doesn't identify the objects or the actions by the name. The consciousness identifies the objects and the actions by the emotion that is attached to each of the object or action. If the emotions are positive, then it sees the object or the action as good, and if the emotions are negative, it sees the object or the action as bad. How does the consciousness processes the information? Good question. Of course, the consciousness uses the knowledge of good and evil. For this, we have to analyze this verse from the Bible. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. God saw that the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. The beginning of this verse symbolizes the creation of the definition of good and evil. The emotion connected with light is felt by the consciousness as good. Consequently, the emotion connected with darkness can be understood as the emotion felt by the consciousness as evil. The day in this verse symbolizes the absolute good, and the night here symbolizes the absolute evil. The evening and the morning symbolize the mixture of good and evil. The morning is closer to the day, and the evening is closer to the night. By mixing the emotions, the consciousness determines, is the mixed emotion closer to good or is it closer to evil? The process of mixing the emotions is similar to the process of using the wheels of the cherubims that I described in my previous story. Now let's get back to the connecting to the other minds. As I mentioned earlier, just the wish is not enough to make the connection. The part of the mind that satisfies the wishes must agree to satisfy this wish. Then the mind has to send the right emotions to the consciousness. So the consciousness agrees to connect with the other consciousnesses. The consciousness makes the decision by processing the emotions. It will act according to the emotion that is positive. As I mentioned previously, when God creates something, he sees that it is good, and only after this he continues creating. love and caring. These emotions make the consciousness want to connect and to get closer, and the consciousness creates the emotion suggesting the mind to go and visit the mother and sends this emotion to the mind. The mind processes this emotion and makes the decisions to go to visit the mother or not. But the most important part in this is that the consciousness listened to what the emotion suggested and acted accordingly. This means that the consciousness functions according to the emotions that it receives from the mind. So in order to make the consciousness want to connect with the other consciousnesses, we need to send it the right emotions. What are the right emotions to send to the consciousness? In my first story, I described the emotions that can be obstacles for the connection and the emotions that can assist the connection. The emotions that assist the connection are attraction, love, and caring. These are the emotions that make us want to connect with someone or feel closeness. The emotions opposing the connection are hate, shame, pride, humiliation, isolation, and ego. These are the emotions that make us want to stay away from someone and not to feel closeness. How to make this happen? First, we have to understand that the emotions must be generated in the mind. The mind generates the emotions by processing the information and translating them into the feelings. Accordingly, the mind must process the right information in the right way to generate the right emotions. The mind must disregard the information that can generate the emotions that can block the connection. From the other hand, the mind must process in the right way the information that can assist the connection. How to do it? At first, we must realize that the consciousness doesn't occupy the space nor time. Moreover, it is not even the part of the physical world. The mind, from the other hand, is the part of the physical world. Even though it also doesn't occupy the space, it is made by the brain and it exists in the brain. In order for the mind to process the right information in the right way, it has to start thinking in the same way as the consciousness operates. For this, the mind has to think outside the physical world. The Bible tells us how this can be done, but this is a matter that requires deeper analysis. So I will explain it in my following